Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. Probably what's going to be one of my more controversial videos. I don't expect the like to dislike ratio to be quite as good as it usually is, and that's because today I am putting on my GM cap. I don't actually have one. I wish I did for this bit, so let's just imagine putting on an imaginary GM hat, and I'm going to go through a list of 10 duos of players. I tweeted out earlier today asking y'all to give me these duos, and I took 10 of what I thought were the most interesting or most commented ones. Some of these were commented like 3 or 4 times each, so I had to put those in the video. So if yours didn't make the cut, I'm sorry, but for those of you that gave them to me, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you were wanting to participate in this video. So I'm going to go through these 10 duos of players and give you who I would build around if I were a GM out of those 2 players. For example, we could have one where imagine it's like Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. I would go through and say which of those players I would take to build a team around. Imagine it's like a fantasy draft and it gets around to my pick and I need to pick someone to be the guy for my franchise, like the guy that I'm building my team around. Which one am I picking? So some of these might change if it's just who would I want on my team or which of these players would I take right now, because not all of these are going to be based on who's better right now. Some of them are going to be kind of long-term output, or some of them might just be the fact that I think one player is more well established and I can trust them a little bit more than another guy, even if they could have a better career. There is a lot of things that go into this. So I'm going to kind of try and give my rationale for each of the picks. If you hate them, let me know in the comment section below. Also, make sure to like and subscribe if you hate the video or love the video. Either way, I appreciate y'all watching. Let's get into it. First duo of players we have is already a tough one, and it's a Lamelo Ball or Ja Morant. Right now, if I have to pick the better player, I'm 100% going Ja Morant, but the way it gets tough is because I really like Lamelo. I think Lamelo has a great game for the modern NBA. He's going to be a ridiculous passer. I think he's going to average upwards of 10, 11 assists in his career when he gets it to his prime. He's just a ridiculous passer. He just really raises how good his team can be. He's going to be a good shooter. He's already a better three-point shooter than Ja Morant, which is one of the biggest knocks on Ja, is his inability to really shoot the three-point shot right now. I like LaMelo's game a lot. I advocated for him to be the #1 overall pick in his draft, and even when he wasn't, I was like, LaMelo is a steal getting him at the 3rd overall pick. LaMelo is a great player. But Ja Morant is more established. Ja has now been the best player on a playoff team, and there were some nights where Valanciunas was a little bit better than him, but he was at least one of the 2 best players on any given night going into the playoffs. He does worry me because of injury issues. Whenever he lands, I'm terrified that he's going to get hurt, and that is something else that I have to consider here, because if my franchise player gets hurt, I'm in big trouble because now my best guy is out for a long period of time, and my team's just going to be terrible. So that's something else I'm considering here, and if you're listening, it might kind of sound like I'm leaning towards LaMelo, and I'm like 50-50 on this, but I'm going to go with Ja Morant. I don't think I can pass up what Ja brings. The fact that he is more experienced at this point, I know a little bit more of what I'm going to get from Ja Morant. I do think that three-point shooting can come around, and the fact that he was able to go head-to-head against Stephen Curry in a elimination winner goes to the playoffs type game, I have to admire that. I have to go with it. How hard he played and how he willed his team to at least take a game from the Utah Jazz in the 1st round. I love what Ja brings to the table, his toughness, and I just can't pass up what Ja's done so far, so I am picking Ja Morant. Once again, this is also not me projecting who's going to be better in the future. It's just kind of a combination of things. Second pairing, we've got Bam Adebayo or KarlAnthony Towns. This one I think is a little bit easier for me because I think Cat is definitely the better player. Bam is a guy that I think could win a Defensive Player of the Year or multiple throughout his career. He is a monster on that end, had that crazy block against Tatum in the Eastern Conference Finals. Bam does a lot of things very well. The problem is he's not a great offensive player, and I don't know if I want to center my team around a guy that can't really produce super well on the offensive side of the ball. I think he is going to grow and continue to get better, especially now that he has a great point guard next to him in Kyle Lowry. But with Cat, I think Cat is one of the best offensive centers ever. He is, in my opinion, probably the best shooting center we've ever seen. And if you don't believe me, go look at the stats, because Cat is ridiculous. I think he's gotten crazy underrated. I think Cat is going to have a monster year this upcoming season. And as soon as he gets more help, Cat is going to quickly, like, the Timberwolves are at some point going to return to relevance, and Cat is going to be a big reason as to why. And there are going to be kind of some whispers of maybe a Cat MVP campaign at some point, I think, during his career. That's how much I like his game and how much I believe in him. Once again, he did miss some time this past season, but I'm going to take Cat. I trust in him, and I think to have that amazing offensive talent at my center position is a huge plus. Speaking of offensive talents at the center position, our third pairing is Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid. This is a debate that goes on constantly, and it's really never going to end until like the end of their careers, and even then, who knows? It continues this past season because Jokic and Embiid for most of the season were the top 2 MVP candidates. Embiid ends up getting hurt, which is something I have to consider because Embiid usually misses some time throughout the year, where Nikola Jokic played every single game. And I'm going to pick Nikola Jokic. I've been so back and forth on who the best center is, I really don't know, because I think it can change any given night. But I have to go with Nikola Jokic. He has generational passing, and I'm not saying that lightly. Jokic isn't just the best passing big man ever, he's one of the best passers, period, ever in the history of basketball. To have that on my team is something I really want, and the way that he has led his team to a Western Conference Finals, the way that he led them past the Clippers last season, I really like what Jokic does. Embiid is a monster, and he continues to get better every year. He gives me more defense as well, which is something I definitely have to consider. But right now I'm going to go with Jokic. This is something that could probably flip every single day with just how good and comparable these two players are, but right now I'm going to lean Jokic. Number 4, we've got Anthony Edwards or Cade Cunningham. This one is tough for the future, but if I have to pick right now, I'm going to go Anthony Edwards 10 times out of 10, just because I don't know what I'm getting yet with Cade. Something that I know, it's Cade Cunningham. He's not going to bust. He was the number 1 overall pick in what was one of the most stacked draft classes we've seen in like the last decade. Cade's going to be good. He's going to be really, really good. But there's always that small chance that somehow Cade busts or he's just not as good as people thought he was going to be. And Anthony Edwards, over the course of this past season, the growth that he showed over the course of one season blew me away. It was amazing what he did just from the first half of the season to the second half. And I think when he gets those teammates around him, like Cat, who we just talked about how good he is, Edwards is going to have so many more open looks, so many better scoring opportunities, and he looked so comfortable in the second half of that season after really struggling. The way that he continues to get better, he gets more comfortable, and he's one of the people that I could see being one of the best guards in the league when his time comes around, when he hits kind of his prime. I'm not saying Cade can't be that, because I think Cade will be, alongside Anthony Edwards, one of the best guards in the league, but I just don't know yet. So I've got to go with Anthony Edwards because I'm sure that he's going to be a really good player from what I've seen from him on an NBA court. Come back to this after this next season where maybe Cade wins Rookie of the Year and is ridiculous, and maybe my opinion changes. Next, at number 5, we've got Darren Fox or Ben Simmons, and this one is really, really tough for me. Ben Simmons, I think there's a more clear path to building a team around Ben Simmons than Darren Fox, because we know what works with Ben Simmons. You put shooters around Ben Simmons, you give him guys to pass to and play in the transition game, and you're going to find success. Ben is really good. The thing that worries me is that Ben has not shown a commitment yet to getting better offensively. I need him to learn how to shoot the three-point shot. I can't have the centerpiece of my team never shooting threes, or even he won't even shoot a mid-range jumper. That's a problem for me. Even if Darren Fox isn't the greatest shooter, at least he's going to shoot them, which opens up the floor. What Ben Simmons can be is definitely a better build-around player than what Darren Fox is, but for what he is now, I like Darren Fox better. He can do similar things to Ben Simmons, where he is ridiculously fast. And he's also a really, really underrated finisher at the rim. He's ridiculously good finishing at the rim, something that I was just kind of getting woke to these past couple days. Darren Fox is super, super good. He's fast. He can kick out the shooter, similar to the way that Ben Simmons can. But I'm worried about Ben Simmons being the face and the centerpiece of my team if he's not willing to shoot or produce on the offensive end. So I'm going to go with Darren Fox. I like Ben Simmons a lot. I think he's underrated at this point in his career, but I need to see some growth from him before I make him the centerpiece of my team. Number 6, another one of those debates that really is never going to end, similar to the Jokic and Embiid one, Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker. Donovan Mitchell led his team to the first seed in the Western Conference, led his team to the second round, and unfortunately for him, fell to the Los Angeles Clippers in that second round series. Given he was hurt, he wasn't 100%, and Mike Conley also was not quite there, so there are some reasons why they fell. Donovan Mitchell had a ridiculous series against the Nuggets just not this past season, but the season before in the NBA bubble, where him and Donovan Mitchell, or him and Jamal Murray, were going back and forth scoring like 50 bombs. It was one of the craziest series I've ever seen. But I'm going to go with Devin Booker. just because Devin Booker was just the best player. A lot of nights, it was between him and Chris Paul every night, but there were many nights where Devin Booker was the best player on a team that just went to the NBA Finals. And not only that, but I like the versatility of Devin Booker a little bit better, to where I feel confident that I can play Devin Booker at my point guard or my shooting guard position. Donovan Mitchell doesn't quite have the playmaking that I would like for a guy to play at the one for me. And so having that versatility with Devin Booker, where I can play him at multiple positions, kind of gives him a little bit of that edge for two guys that I think are very, very close. Devin Booker averaged like 7 assists just a season ago. Don't forget about that when you evaluate Devin Booker. I'm going to go with him. You can go either way on this or pretty much any single one of these, but I'm going to go with Booker. Number 7, Giannis or Luka Doncic. I think the guards are the future of the league. I don't think that's crazy to say. That it is a guard-dominated league. You need to have a good guard on your team to win in this league, and that's part of what got the Bucks over the hump, was adding a guy like Jrue Holiday, who is a great guard, alongside Giannis, who we're talking about right here, and Chris Middleton. Luka has shown ridiculous potential. I personally think that when it's all said and done, Luka is going to go down as one of the best players of all time. Not just one of the best players of this era, one of the best of all time. That's how much I believe in him. He's one of my favorite players in the league to watch. He is dominant. He needs some help on that roster. He does. But I have to go with Giannis. While Luka, I think, can be one of the best players of all time, and I think he will kind of end up in that kind of conversation when it's all said and done, Giannis is already one of the best players of all time. And the fact that he is now a Finals MVP, an NBA champion, 2-time MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year, I can't give that up for Luka. I have to stick with the guy that has shown me that he can be the best player on a Finals winning team. I don't think there's a question that Luka can also do that. But the fact that I've already seen it with Giannis definitely gives him an edge for me. Not to mention the fact that he's a defensive monster. He's going to be the anchor of my defense, as well as he can be my best offensive player. And that is a huge thing for me. Giannis is in the argument to be the best player in the league, and I can't pass him up as the centerpiece of my team. If I put some shooters around him, my team is guaranteed to be a Finals contender. So I'm going with Giannis. Next, another tough one. Trae Young or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you can't tell by the Thunder shirt, the Thunder flag, oh, it's right there. I got it that time. First time I tried recording this, I got that like the third time, so glad I got it in only 2 this time, but I'm a big Shai fan. I'm a Thunder fan, so I'm biased towards him. But I'm going to be unbiased here, and I'm going to say Trae Young. Similar situation. I think SGA can be better than Trae if he continues to develop the way that I think he's going to, and Shai doesn't have nearly as much help as Trae does on his roster right now. If you put Shai on Trae's roster, I think there is potential for that team to be just as good. That's how much I believe in Shai. The thing is, though, that's a hypothetical. I have to go with the sure thing at the moment, and Trae Young just was the best player on a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals and took the NBA champions to 6 games. There is a blueprint for how to build a team around Trae because the Hawks just did it this past season. 3-and-D wing, good shooters, and a big that can not only be a great defensive presence but catch the lob for Trae Young to open up that floater game for him. What Trae has shown me this past season, I have to give him the edge, but as a Thunder fan, I want to warn you, don't be surprised if Shai passes Trae at some point. Number 9, Jayson Tatum or Zion Williamson. For me, some of you might not know, but for a while, I wasn't huge on Jayson Tatum. For the first couple years in the league, I always thought he was going to be an all-star caliber player, but not quite an MVP. I thought, he can make some All-NBA teams, but he's never going to quite be like that MVP caliber guy that a lot of people thought he was going to be. And then I was quickly proved to be an idiot when he did become that player. Jayson Tatum is a guy that I think could win an MVP as soon as this next season if the Celtics were a little bit better. I don't think they're good enough of a team right now to make it to the level of team success that they need for Tatum to win an MVP, but Tatum is a ridiculous talent. He's a borderline top 10, easily top 15 player in this league. He's good defensively and offensively, scoring over 50 and even 60 over the course of this season. Zion had a ridiculous season. Don't take this on a knock. Don't take this as a knock on Zion at all. Zion is super talented. He had one of the best scoring seasons we've seen from someone of his age ever, period, with the efficiency that he had. And not only that, but he didn't even have good spacing on that team. Imagine what Zion is going to be able to be with better spacing. One worry I have is the injury issue. Zion is more susceptible to injury just because of his body type. It's not at all his fault. It's just the type of game that he plays. He is more susceptible to injury than Jayson Tatum is. And the way that I've seen Tatum lead multiple teams to conference finals appearances, in even just his first few seasons, he's been to the conference finals multiple times, the second round. Tatum's done a lot. And so while I love what Zion did, and what Zion did was historic, Tatum is a guy that I think is going to be an MVP at some point, and I have to go with him because of that. And finally, we finally get to number 10. This is a historical one, and it is the king of all debates in NBA Twitter, NBA content, whatever. Michael Jordan or LeBron James. For this one, since obviously Michael Jordan is retired, I'll be going with kind of just the idea of the player, the kind of player that we've seen in their prime, in their peak, rather than going with current LeBron or like 6-year-old Michael Jordan, because, wouldn't be fair. So, when I'm looking at this, I'm kind of going back to what I said with Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker. I'm not saying who is the GOAT here. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm looking at is LeBron made it to the finals 10 times. Michael Jordan made it 6. Michael Jordan went 6 for 6, LeBron 4 for 10. That is a whole other part of the GOAT debate that I'm not getting into the GOAT debate right now, or hopefully ever on this channel, because that gets toxic immediately. But with LeBron, the way that he dominated in the modern era, this is today. The way that LeBron dominated this modern era, the Eastern Conference, he went to the finals so many years in a row. If LeBron was on your team, you were going to win the East. The way that he has shown that dominance over such a long period of time, the amount of longevity I can get out of LeBron James, more than I got out of Michael Jordan, just playing more seasons, I've got to go with LeBron if I'm building a team. He can play the small forward, he can play the point guard, he can be my playmaker, he can be a scorer, and in his prime, he was a fantastic defensive player of the year level defender as well. Michael Jordan, great defender, great scorer, not quite the playmaker, and like I said, the longevity of LeBron James's career, if I'm building a team and I'm trying to have them be my franchise guy for so-and-so amount of years, I'm picking LeBron James because he's going to give me more years from what we've seen over the course of his career in the actual timeline rather than my hypothetical one. Those are my picks. Let me know if you don't like any of them at all. Let me know if there are ones you agree with. Just kind of give me your thoughts on all this down below. If you made this far in the video, also drop me like one of your comparisons that you think is pretty interesting. Maybe I'll answer that in a future video. If you guys did like this, to show me you liked it, leave a comment and make sure to like the video. And maybe I'll talk about some of those in a future video, or maybe if I have time, I'll just even kind of answer some of your comments in the comment section below. But for right now, I appreciate y'all watching. Let me know if you like this type of content. I'll see you guys later. Real one, say it back.